Most people think that the topic they should work on is what they found as the result to their aptitude test they took in high school. I never fell for this, by the way. I never fell for this. Because in high school, I was the skinniest kid, 130 pounds, 6'1", and I got my results back, and they said, "You should be a lumberjack." I remember thinking, should I send them a picture? You know, visualize me wielding a chainsaw and send me new results. I began asking my students at Bryan College, what did your career test say that you should be? It was funny how some of the results came out. The guy who was there was a guy in our class, I said, well, what did your career test say? He said, I really don't want to talk about it. And it was funny that he said that because he was kind of the class clown, always cutting up, is an athlete, good musician. In fact, he's still kind of a cut-up, which is really funny. Have you seen the commercials for freecreditscore.com? Yeah. Okay, that is my student. I mean, that is not metaphorically my student. That is that student, okay? He is the goofiest band guy that there is, okay? And it's just on purpose, we'll do things that are funny just to make people laugh. So I said, so what did your career test say that you should be? And he said, my career test said I should be a flower arranger. Exactly. The whole class just busted up because we couldn't believe it. Now, if God calls you to be a flower arranger, then be one. But don't believe that just because your career test says that's what you should be. All right. Does that make sense to you? What are you going to do? How are you going to find the topic? Here's the strategy, and I know this is going to sound strange to you. I recommend that you write down 15 to 25 stories of things you have accomplished that gave you a great sense of satisfaction. Write down 15 to 25 stories. Each story could only be 2 or 3 sentences long. The length of the story is not the key. The idea is that you have a whole bunch of them, thinking as far back in your life as you can, of things that you accomplished that gave you a great sense of satisfaction. And by the way, if you're saying to me, Dr. Myers, I haven't accomplished anything, I want you to stop using other people's definitions of accomplishment. What we're talking about here is what returns energy to you and makes you feel more alive, not what returns energy to a friend of yours who's energized by something totally different. Are we clear on that? Because those things, you remember when you were a little kid, you did something, you created some kind of a play situation, and you thought, that was really cool. I was very clever to do that. And it's not boastful to think that. You just realize, you know, I think there might be a reason why that was of particular interest to me. For me, I would draw things growing up, and I found that from a young age, I didn't just draw pictures of like a car. I would draw the car as if it was the cutaway view of the car. So you could see the engine, the steering column, the person sitting in the seat, and all of that. And then when I started drawing houses, I never drew a house, you know, with the windows and smoke coming out of the chimney. I drew the house from the top, looking down in it as if you took the roof off and you could see the architectural design on the inside. I did that from the time I was a little kid. That's meaningful. That shows something. It means that, you know, for instance, when I take that idea with my teaching gift together, I realize, you know, I'm interested in space. I think in terms of space. I don't think in terms of just point 1, point 2, point 3. I think in terms of, for example, when I teach, I imagine that it's a canvas, so to speak, and that we're filling out the space by helping to explain each of the ideas that would be necessary to fill that space and make sense of it. That's how I operate. I think of it as an architectural task. And believe me, if I were not a professor, if I were not involved in the consulting business, I would be just as happy buying old buildings and remodeling them as I would be doing anything else. I've done that too in my life and thoroughly enjoyed it. So sometimes it's the topic, but don't get just stuck on that. Because I know somebody might say, well, you know, soccer, that's my life, so I have to be a soccer player or a soccer coach or something. Not necessarily. What is it about soccer that really compels you might be something that you would think about in terms of those stories.